T-26, the backbone of the Red Army before World War II. Introduction. Before the Soviet Union unleashed its legendary T-34 and KV series tanks, the T-26 was the workhorse of the Red Army. Produced in staggering numbers throughout the 1930s, the T-26 formed the backbone of Soviet armored forces and was present in almost every conflict fought by the USSR prior to and during the early years of World War II. From an American perspective, the T-26 represents both the promise and the pitfalls of interwar tank design. It was a tank that served its purpose well in the 1930s, but by 1941 it was outdated, vulnerable, and ultimately overwhelmed by the pace of armored warfare unleashed by Nazi Germany. Yet without the T-26, the Soviet Union's armored doctrine and wartime production capacity might never have reached the scale it did. 1. Origins and development. The T-26 was born not from purely Soviet innovation, but from foreign inspiration. In 1930, the Soviet Union purchased several Vickers 6-ton light tanks from Great Britain, a design admired for its simplicity and reliability. Soviet engineers reverse-engineered the vehicle, modified it to Soviet needs, and by 1931 began mass production of what became the T-26. Key improvements included heavier armor than the original British version, Soviet-built engines and transmissions adapted for mass production, variants with different weapons, including 37mm and later 45mm cannons, capable of defeating most tanks of its era in the 1930s. The Soviets valued the T-26 for its low cost, ease of production, and adaptability. By the mid-1930s, the T-26 was the most numerous tank in the world, with thousands rolling out of Soviet factories each year. 2. Design features. Weight and size. Light tank, around 10 tons with a crew of 3. Armament. Initially machine gun armed, later upgraded to a 45mm cannon capable of defeating most tanks of its era in the 1930s. Armor. Thin, usually 15mm, later improved to around 25mm, but still vulnerable to anything larger than a machine gun. Mobility. Speed of 30 km per hour, decent for infantry support, but not for fast maneuvers. Production. Over 10,000 units built, making it one of the most mass-produced tanks of the interwar period. In essence, the T-26 was designed as an infantry support tank. Its job was not to duel enemy armor, but to suppress machine gun nests, bunkers, and support advancing infantry. 3. Operational history before World War II. Spanish Civil War, 1936 to 1939. The T-26 first gained combat experience in Spain, where it was supplied to Republican forces. Its 45mm gun proved devastating against German and Italian light tanks, such as the Panzer I and CV-33 tankettes. For a time, the T-26 was considered one of the most powerful tanks in the world. Battles against Japan, 1938 to 1939. T-26s were used in border clashes with Japan, including the Battle of Lake Hassan and Khalkhin-Gol. Here, they faced Japanese Type 95 Hago tanks. While the T-26 could outgun them, Japanese anti-tank weapons inflicted serious losses, highlighting the vulnerability of its thin armor. The Winter War, 1939 to 1940. During the Soviet invasion of Finland, the T-26 again played a central role. However, its thin armor struggled against Finnish anti-tank rifles and Molotov cocktails. Many were lost, but the experience taught the Soviets hard lessons about tank protection and combined arms warfare. 4. The T-26 in Operation Barbarossa. By June 1941, when Nazi Germany invaded the Soviet Union, the Red Army still fielded thousands of T-26s. They formed the majority of Soviet tank brigades. But against the German Panzer III and Panzer IV, the T-26 was hopelessly outmatched. Its thin armor was penetrated by almost every German anti-tank weapon, and its slow speed prevented effective maneuvering. Many were destroyed on the ground, abandoned due to mechanical breakdowns, or simply overrun by faster German formations. Within the first year of the war, the T-26 virtually disappeared from the front lines. 5. Strengths and weaknesses. Strengths. Extremely cheap and easy to mass produce. Powerful 45mm gun for the 1930s, capable of destroying early German and Italian tanks. Provided invaluable combat experience for Soviet crews and commanders. Weaknesses. Thin armor, easily penetrated by rifles and AT guns by 1941. Slow and mechanically outdated. Poor survivability in modern mechanized warfare. 6. Comparison with contemporary tanks. In the early 1930s, the T-26 was world-class, superior to most tanks fielded by other nations. Against Germany's Panzer I and early Panzer II, the T-26 was deadly. But by 1940 to 1941, the T-26 was a relic. German Panzer IIIs and IVs, British Crusaders, and even Japanese improvements quickly outclassed it. Compared to the Soviet BT series fast tanks, the T-26 was slow and underpowered, better suited for static infantry support than dynamic blitzkrieg-style operations. 7. Legacy of the T-26. Despite its rapid obsolescence, the T-26 played a crucial role in Soviet military history. It gave the Red Army massed armor experience in the 1930s. It helped shape Soviet doctrine that would later evolve into deep battle and combined arms. It provided Soviet industry with the foundation to mass-produce tanks on an unprecedented scale, paving the way for the T-34. The T-26 was, in essence, a transitional tank, not the ultimate weapon, but the stepping stone to greater designs. From my American perspective, the T-26 was a paradox. It was both the most important tank of the Red Army in the 1930s and hopelessly outdated by 1941. It symbolized the Soviet belief in mass production and in infantry support. And while it failed catastrophically against the Wehrmacht's blitzkrieg, it laid the foundation for the tank armies that would later drive to Berlin. The T-26 may not inspire the awe of the T-34 or the KV-1, but in its own way, it was the true backbone of the Red Army before World War II, a tank that carried the Soviet Union through its formative years of armored warfare.